I want to start with a question. Have you ever heard someone say, just act like it doesn't bother you? And immediately thought, how? How can I possibly pretend when my heart feels heavy or my mind is racing? It's a common piece of advice, but often misunderstood. Acting as if nothing bothers you doesn't mean you ignore your feelings or pretend problems don't exist. It means learning to carry your experiences with grace, resilience, and self-awareness. Let's get one thing straight: life isn't about avoiding discomfort. It's about navigating it in a way that strengthens you, not breaks you. Acting as if nothing bothers you is a skill, a practice, and an act of courage. It's not about being invulnerable, it's about being intentional in how you show up for yourself and others. This isn't about creating walls to keep people out. It's about choosing your battles, protecting your peace, and standing firmly in your own story. It's about leading with the quiet confidence that no matter what life throws at you, you have the tools to move through it. So today I want to share 10 guiding principles that will help you act as if nothing bothers you, not as a mask, but as a strategy for living fully and authentically. Acting calm doesn't mean pretending that you don't feel anything. It's not about suppressing your emotions or locking them away where no one, including yourself, can reach them. It's about creating a private, honest space where you can safely acknowledge what you're going through. When something bothers you, take a moment to step back from the noise of the world. Find a quiet place, whether it's a physical location or simply a mental retreat, where you can check in with yourself. Ask yourself, what am I really feeling? It might be frustration, sadness, disappointment, or fear. Or maybe it's a combination of emotions that feel too tangled to name. Whatever it is, allow yourself to feel it without judgment. This process is not about overanalyzing or trying to fix everything immediately. It's about honoring your emotional experience as valid and real. Sometimes the simple act of naming what you feel can be incredibly powerful. Saying to yourself, I'm hurt, or I'm overwhelmed, or even I'm not okay right now, gives your emotions permission to exist. And when you give them space, they lose some of their grip on you. You might find it helpful to write down your thoughts in a journal. Put pen to paper and let the words flow unfiltered. Or you might prefer to sit quietly and breathe, allowing your feelings to rise and fall like waves. There's no right or wrong way to process your emotions. It's about what works for you. What's important is that you don't push your feelings aside or pretend they don't matter. Because when you suppress emotions, they don't disappear. They linger, often showing up in unexpected and unhealthy ways. By acknowledging your feelings privately, you're giving yourself a chance to understand them without external pressure or influence. You're creating a moment of honesty where you can simply be with yourself as you are. And that's a form of self-respect. It's not weakness to feel deeply, it's human. But by taking time to process your emotions, you give yourself the strength to carry them with grace. Not everything in life deserves the same level of emotional investment. It's easy to get caught up in the heat of the moment, treating every inconvenience, every harsh word, or every mistake as if it's the end of the world. But perspective is a powerful tool that allows you to step back and see the bigger picture. When you're faced with a situation that stirs frustration, anger, or sadness, pause for a moment and ask yourself, will this matter a week from now? A year from now? Most of the time, the answer is no. The rude comment from a stranger, the missed opportunity, the small argument with a friend, these moments often lose their significance when viewed through the lens of time. They are fleeting, temporary, and far less important than they feel in the moment. On the other hand, there are things that do matter. Your relationships, your health, your sense of purpose, these are worth your time, your energy, and your emotional investment. But even with these, it's essential to approach them with balance and intention. Perspective is not about ignoring what's difficult or pretending that challenges don't exist. It's about choosing where to focus your energy so that it serves you rather than drains you. Think of your emotions as a limited resource, like water in a cup. If you pour it out on every small irritation or meaningless argument, you'll have nothing left for the things that truly need your attention. But if you conserve it, if you pour it into the moments and people that truly matter, you'll feel fulfilled rather than depleted. Sometimes gaining perspective requires taking a step back. Talk to someone you trust, someone who can help you see things from a different angle. Or simply give yourself the gift of time, a chance to let the intensity of the moment fade so you can think clearly. When you practice the power of perspective, you learn that not every battle is worth fighting, not every comment is worth responding to, and not every situation deserves to take up space in your heart. It's not about caring less, it's about caring wisely. When life feels heavy, it's easy to be hard on yourself. You might replay mistakes in your mind, criticize your choices, or wonder if you're strong enough to handle it all. But in those moments, what you need most isn't judgment. What you need is kindness toward yourself. Self-compassion is the act of treating yourself the way you would treat a dear friend who's struggling. It's about recognizing that tough times are part of being human and that it's okay to feel vulnerable or imperfect. Start by giving yourself permission to feel whatever you're feeling. Whether it's sadness, frustration, or fear, your emotions are valid. You don't need to push them away or pretend they don't exist. Instead, acknowledge them with gentle curiosity, without harsh criticism or self-blame. Then, remind yourself that you are not alone. Everyone faces challenges, everyone stumbles, and everyone feels unsteady sometimes. This shared human experience connects us even when we feel isolated in our struggles. Self-compassion also means speaking to yourself with kindness. Pay attention to your inner dialogue. When you catch yourself thinking, "I should have done better," or "I'm not good enough," pause and reframe it. Try saying, "I'm doing my best," or "It's okay to not have it all figured out right now." These small shifts in language can make a big difference in how you feel. Another part of self-compassion is taking care of your needs. Sometimes being kind to yourself means resting when you're tired, saying no to things that overwhelm you, or reaching out for support when you need it. It's recognizing that you are worthy of care and prioritizing your well-being, even when the world feels chaotic. When you cultivate self-compassion, you create an inner space of peace. You learn that it's possible to be gentle with yourself while still moving forward. And this inner kindness makes it easier to act unbothered, not because you're ignoring your struggles, but because you've made peace with them. Remember, strength isn't about never falling. It's about how you treat yourself when you do. And you are worthy of that kindness every single time. Emotions are powerful, and they can feel overwhelming at times. When something stirs anger, frustration, or sadness, it's natural to react quickly, often without thinking. But those quick, impulsive reactions can sometimes lead to regret, misunderstanding, or even more chaos. This is where emotional regulation becomes essential. It's not about shutting down your feelings or pretending they don't exist. It's about creating space between the moment you feel something and the way you respond. Building tools for emotional regulation helps you navigate those intense moments with thoughtfulness and grace. One of the simplest tools you can use is deep breathing. When your emotions start to rise, pause and take a slow, deep breath. Inhale through your nose for a count of 4, hold for 4, and exhale slowly through your mouth for a count of 6. This small act signals to your body that it's okay to relax, helping to calm the storm inside you. Journaling is another powerful tool. When your mind feels cluttered with emotions, putting your thoughts down on paper can bring clarity. Write without judgment, just let the words flow. Describe what happened, how you feel, and what you need. Sometimes seeing your emotions written out can make them feel more manageable. Meditation is also a valuable practice for emotional regulation. Even just a few minutes a day can make a difference. Find a quiet place, close your eyes, and focus on your breath or a calming word or phrase. Meditation trains your mind to observe your emotions without becoming overwhelmed by them. Over time, this practice can help you respond more thoughtfully in emotional situations. But emotional regulation isn't only about these tools, it's about building self-awareness. Pay attention to what triggers your emotions and how they show up in your body. Do your shoulders tense up? Does your heart race? Recognizing these signs gives you a chance to intervene before your emotions take over. And remember, it's okay to step away when you need to. Taking a moment to pause isn't avoiding the issue, it's giving yourself the chance to respond from a place of calm rather than chaos. Emotional regulation doesn't mean you won't feel deeply or passionately. It means you'll have the strength to channel those emotions in a way that serves you rather than controls you. Your energy is one of your most valuable resources. It's finite, and where you choose to direct it shapes your experience of the world. When challenges arise, it's tempting to dwell on problems, replay mistakes, or sink into negativity. But the truth is, what you focus on expands. If you pour your energy into frustration or regret, those feelings grow stronger and take up more space in your life. Instead, focus on what moves you forward, solutions, growth, and gratitude. When faced with a problem, ask yourself, what can I do about this? Even small, practical steps can shift your mindset from helplessness to empowerment. If something is beyond your control, acknowledge that too. Accepting what you cannot change frees you to focus on what you can. Growth often comes from the hardest moments, but you have to be willing to look for it. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this experience? It may not be obvious at first, and it may not feel fair, but every challenge carries an opportunity to grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Focus your energy on the lessons, not just the loss. And then there's gratitude, a simple but transformative practice. Even in the midst of difficulty, there's always something to be grateful for. It might be as small as a kind word from a friend, the warmth of the sun on your face, or simply the fact that you've made it through another day. When you focus on what you have, rather than what you lack, your perspective shifts. Gratitude doesn't erase pain, but it brings balance. It reminds you that life isn't just made up of struggles, it's also full of beauty and possibility. Choosing where to place your energy isn't about ignoring negativity or pretending everything is perfect. It's about being intentional. It's about deciding that your time, your thoughts, and your emotional energy are too precious to waste on things that don't serve you. When you focus on solutions, growth, and gratitude, you reclaim your power. You take control of your narrative, even in the face of adversity. And most importantly, you create space for what truly matters to flourish. Healthy boundaries are not walls, they're bridges to a better version of yourself. They're not about shutting people out, but about preserving your energy and well-being so you can show up fully where it truly matters. When you lack boundaries, everything and everyone has access to your emotional resources. You say yes when you mean no. You give time and attention to things that leave you feeling drained, overwhelmed, or undervalued. And over time, that constant giving takes a toll. Acting unbothered doesn't mean pretending you're immune to stress or hurt. It means knowing when to step back and protect your peace. It starts with recognizing what drains you. Maybe it's certain people who constantly bring negativity into your life. Or it's a habit of overcommitting yourself to obligations you don't have the capacity for. Whatever it is, pay attention to how it makes you feel. If you leave a conversation or situation feeling depleted, it's a sign that a boundary might be needed. Setting boundaries doesn't have to be confrontational or dramatic. It can be as simple as saying, I can't take that on right now, or I need some time for myself. It's about being honest with others, but more importantly, being honest with yourself about what you need. Remember, boundaries are not selfish. They're a form of self-respect. By saying no to what doesn't serve you, you create space to say yes to what does. And when you protect your energy, you're better equipped to handle life's challenges with clarity and strength. Boundaries also teach people how to treat you. When you communicate what's acceptable and what isn't, you set the standard for how you deserve to be treated. Not everyone will like it, and that's okay. Your goal isn't to please everyone, it's to protect yourself from being stretched too thin or taken for granted. Building healthy boundaries takes practice, especially if you're used to putting others first. But each time you honor your limits, you reinforce the message that your well-being matters. And that is the foundation of acting unbothered, not by avoiding difficulties, but by choosing not to let unnecessary demands disrupt your inner peace. Vulnerability often feels like a risk, doesn't it? It's that moment when you let someone see the parts of you that aren't polished, the parts that feel raw and uncertain. It can feel like exposing a wound, unsure if it will be met with kindness or judgment. But here's the truth, vulnerability is not weakness. It's courage in its purest form. It's standing in your truth, even when it feels uncomfortable. True strength doesn't come from hiding your struggles or pretending you have it all together. It comes from accepting your humanity, the messy, imperfect, beautiful reality of being human. When you lean into vulnerability, you allow yourself to be seen. And in doing so, you create space for real connection. Because the people who truly care about you don't need you to be perfect, they need you to be honest. Sharing your struggles with those you trust is not about seeking pity or placing your burdens on others. It's about opening a door to understanding and support. It's about saying, this is where I am right now, and letting someone else say, I'm here with you. This doesn't mean you have to share everything with everyone. Vulnerability requires discernment. Choose people who have earned the right to hear your story, those who offer empathy, not judgment. And when you find those people, let them in. You might be surprised at how much lighter your burdens feel when they're shared. Leaning into vulnerability also means being honest with yourself. It's admitting when you're struggling instead of burying it under a facade of strength. It's allowing yourself to cry, to feel, to say, I'm not okay right now. And in that honesty, you give yourself permission to heal. Vulnerability doesn't mean you stop being resilient. In fact, it makes you stronger, because when you accept and embrace your struggles, they lose their power to control you. You step into a place of authenticity, where you're no longer wasting energy on pretending or hiding. You're simply being. And that's where real strength lies, in showing up as your full, unguarded self, trusting that you are enough, just as you are. Challenges have a way of catching us off guard. They show up uninvited, disrupting our plans, testing our patience, and sometimes making us question our ability to handle them. When something bothers you deeply, your first instinct might be to resist it, to wish it away, or to focus on how unfair it feels. But what if, instead of viewing challenges as obstacles, you began to see them as opportunities? Every difficulty you face carries within it the potential for growth. It might not feel that way in the moment when emotions are high and the weight of the problem feels overwhelming. But challenges force us to stretch beyond our comfort zones. They teach us things we might never have learned otherwise. When life doesn't go as planned, it's an invitation to adapt. It's a chance to ask yourself, what can I do differently? Or what is this moment teaching me? Sometimes the lesson is resilience, the ability to keep moving forward even when the path is uncertain. Other times it's patience or humility or creativity. There is always something to be gained, even from the most difficult situations. Think about the times in your life when you've grown the most. Were they during easy, carefree days? Or were they in the moments when you were tested, when you had to dig deep and find strength you didn't know you had? Challenges reveal what we're made of, and they shape us into who we're meant to become. Reframing challenges doesn't mean ignoring pain or pretending everything is fine. It's okay to acknowledge the difficulty, to feel the frustration or sadness or anger. But once those emotions have been honored, ask yourself, how can this make me stronger? This mindset shift isn't always easy. It takes practice. It takes courage to look at what bothers you and see beyond the discomfort to the growth waiting on the other side. But the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. When you reframe challenges as growth opportunities, you reclaim your power. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstance and start seeing yourself as an active participant in your own story. And over time, you'll realize that the things that once bothered you aren't setbacks, they're stepping stones. Life is full of distractions. Opinions, setbacks, conflicts, and fleeting frustrations constantly pull at your attention. It's easy to get caught up in things that, in the grand scheme of life, don't really matter. But when you're anchored to your values, those core principles that define who you are and what you stand for, those distractions lose their power. Your values act like a compass, guiding you back to what's truly important. They remind you of the bigger picture, the purpose behind your actions, and the kind of life you want to lead. When you focus on your values, the small irritations of daily life start to fade into the background. Someone's negative comment doesn't sting as much when you remember it doesn't align with who you are or where you're going. A minor inconvenience feels less overwhelming when you're focused on what brings you genuine meaning and fulfillment. To stay anchored, take time to reflect on what truly matters to you. Is it kindness, growth, family, integrity? Once you've identified your values, let them guide your decisions and your reactions. When faced with something that bothers you, pause and ask yourself, does this align with my values? Often you'll find that what's upsetting you has little to do with the life you want to build or the person you want to be. Focusing on your values doesn't mean ignoring challenges or pretending emotions don't exist. It means responding from a place of clarity and intention, rather than being swept up in temporary emotions. It's easier to act unbothered when you know what you stand for, because when you're rooted in your values, external chaos doesn't shake you as much. Your sense of self remains steady, even when the world around you feels unpredictable. And over time, this inner alignment brings a sense of peace. You realize that you don't need to engage with every problem or be affected by every opinion. Your energy is better spent living in alignment with what truly matters to you. That's where your strength lies, not in avoiding life's challenges, but in staying true to yourself through them. Emotions can feel all-consuming in the moment. When frustration, sadness, or anger takes hold, it's easy to believe it will last forever. But no feeling is permanent. Emotions like waves rise and fall. Even the heaviest storms eventually pass. Adopting this too shall pass mentality is a powerful way to navigate life's challenges. It reminds you that nothing, no matter how intense, is eternal. When something bothers you deeply, pause and take a breath. Tell yourself, this is temporary. It doesn't mean your feelings aren't valid or important. It simply means that with time, the sharp edges will soften, and what feels unbearable now will become more manageable. Let time be your ally. Sometimes the best thing you can do in a difficult moment is to wait for the initial intensity to fade, for clarity to emerge, for healing to begin. Patience is a quiet but profound strength. It allows you to sit with discomfort without rushing to fix, suppress, or escape it. Because often the most meaningful growth happens not by avoiding pain, but by letting it run its course. When you embrace the idea that everything is temporary, you also begin to see life's challenges in a new light. The things that once consumed you start to lose their power. A mistake feels less defining. A hurtful comment feels less permanent. A setback feels less like the end and more like a moment along the way. Even joy, fleeting as it may be, becomes more precious when you remember that it too will pass. Instead of clinging to it or fearing its loss, you can savor it fully in the moment. This too shall pass is not about detachment or indifference, it's about perspective. It's a reminder that life is ever changing, that every experience, good or bad, is part of a larger flow. When you hold on to this truth, you find a steady center within yourself. The highs and lows of life no longer feel so overwhelming because you know they're not forever. And in that steady center, you discover peace. Life is unpredictable, filled with moments that challenge us, shape us, and sometimes test the limits of our patience. But within every challenge lies an opportunity, a chance to grow, to strengthen, and to choose how we show up. Acting as if nothing bothers you isn't about ignoring your emotions or pretending life is perfect. It's about grounding yourself in resilience, staying true to your values, and protecting your peace amidst the noise. It's about knowing when to let go, when to lean in, and when to simply breathe and trust that this too shall pass. Because true strength isn't found in avoiding life's struggles. It's found in how we navigate them with grace, courage, and an unshakable belief that we are capable of rising above. So, choose to focus on what matters, set healthy boundaries, and lean into growth and gratitude. Let the small things slide, hold on to your center, and move through life with calm and purpose. You are stronger than you realize, and with each step forward, you're not just acting unbothered, you're becoming unstoppable.